I want to welcome you to our worship service this morning. It's an unconventional way to do it, but we're in an unconventional time in our history. So we are using every tool that we have available to connect us all together. So glad that you're joining us this morning, and understand this. Worship is not about sitting watching somebody else play guitar or sing. We come to worship to tell God what we think about Him. We come to worship to say to God, thank you. We come to worship to express to God our concerns, but we also come to God to say, thank you so much for bringing me through that time there, or that I'm in faith, knowing that you're going to get me through what I'm going through right now. So worship is more than just sitting and watching. Worship is participating. Worship is telling God everything that's on your heart. So this morning, as you watch with us, I hope that you, in that place that you're watching this right now, wherever you're at, I hope that you express to God who you know Him to be and thank Him for that. I pray God's blessings on you today, and thanks for joining us. God, you reign forever and ever. God, you reign. God, you reign. God, you reign. Forever and ever. God, you reign. God, you reign. God, you reign. Forever and ever. God, you reign. God, you reign. God, you reign. Forever and ever. God, you reign. And because he reigns, we can sing, this is my story. This is my song. Praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story. This is my song. Praising my Savior all the day long. Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine. Heir of salvation, purchase of God, born of his Spirit, and washed in his blood. This is my story, and this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, and this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. Chorus one more time. This is my story. Oh, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story. This is my song, praising my Savior all the day long.
Hey guys, we're glad you're here again this week. Whether you're watching on your living room, on your couch, or in your bed under the covers, or maybe you're going to the bathroom but you still want to watch it at 10 o'clock. Whatever you're doing, cool, glad you're here. We have a few announcements for you. The first one is, obviously we have not been able to meet together on Sunday mornings as a group, and that means we also haven't been able to collect offerings. So if you're wanting to or still willing to send an offering at this point, the best way to do that is sending it to the church address, and that is on the screen. Announcement number 2 is, once again, we haven't been able to meet together on Sunday mornings to take prayer requests or praise reports at all. So if you have any prayer requests or praise reports that you would like to share with others to get prayer for, we would love to talk about them in our next video. So if you have any, you can email them to our church email. You can send them through Facebook or text them to the number that will be on the screen.
Over the next couple weeks, we are praying for essential workers. While a lot of us are safe at home in isolation, essential workers are out risking their health on our behalf. So over the next couple weeks, we're going to bring in essential workers and talk to them and see what kind of prayer requests that they have. This week's essential worker job is truck drivers. We're going to bring in Mike Mack, who's a member of our congregation, and talk to him about what it's like to be a truck driver right now and see what kind of prayer requests that he has for us.
Good morning, everybody. The church asked me to share a little video about what it's like right now being a truck driver during the COVID-19 pandemic. So, as you can see, we got to have the proper gear on in order to drive our truck today because of the possibility of spreading the disease or catching the disease. Okay, just teasing. Just had to do that for fun. That is a nitro mask from drag racing. So, anyhow, truckers today are facing new challenges like we've never seen before. Our lives are a little bit different. Some of us are probably more busy now than we ever have been. For the most part, I think trucking is still up and functioning normally as it would be if we weren't going through this, but I do believe that at this time there are more things being moved, food-wise, household-wise, just general freight. One of the things that we have endured now as truck drivers are a lot of the rest areas are closed. You're not allowed to go inside. It's hard to find places to park right now anyways for the guys that are over the road and sleeping in the truck during the week and whatnot. Another thing is food. As you know, you're out on the road. You can't really pack a whole lot with you to take. Some people have refrigerators and they can take their own food with them. But some have to rely on eating at restaurants. So right now, you're not allowed to go inside and eat anywhere. A lot of places are takeout only or drive-through. So it's really hard because you can't exactly drive, an 80-foot semi-truck and trailer through a drive-through. So definitely more challenging times. They've lifted the hours of operation for a lot of drivers if you're hauling household or food-related items. So there's more hours being spent out working during the day right now for those that are trying to keep up with the need in the stores and whatnot. I just pray for the truck drivers that are out there on the road for their safety. Some are experiencing longer hours now than they ever have. The traffic-wise is definitely slower on the highway right now, so it's a little easier to get around and go places right now. But, just pray for the truckers because it's hard. We go in places, the doors are locked, they make us stand outside, they make us do our paperwork out there. It's just definitely a lot different times than what anybody's really ever used to. I mean, this goes generally with everybody. I doubt there's too many people in here that can say that they've ever seen anything like this in their lives. Just pray for everyone's safety. Take care of your family. If you don't have to get out, don't get out. Stay home. Enjoy this time at home. The good Lord will be with us. He'll watch over us. He'll get us through this. And, just take care of yourself and God bless everybody. And I hope to see you all soon. And take care of yourselves. And be safe out there.
During today's message, there's going to be a couple opportunities for you to pause today's video and talk about discussion questions that will be on the screen. Feel free to take your time and to discuss this with each other. Now for today's message, let me turn it over to me. when I go on a trip, I tend to overpack a bag where my wife tends to pack just what she needs. If I'm going on a 3-day trip, this is the bag that I tend to pack. And if my wife's going with me, this is the bag that she tends to pack. I want to be prepared. So I want 3 days worth of clothes, but I also want like backup outfits. If I'm going swimming, I don't want just one pair of swimming trunks. I want two. And so I overpack. What ends up happening is the bag becomes really heavy and hard to carry. What we're going to talk about today is overpacking our bag of stress, or overpacking our bag of anxiety. What we can do is we can worry so much and be so stressed that what ends up happening is we end up freezing where we're at in our life. It kind of looks like this. When we're young, we start to worry about what people think of us. And we're in grade school, and we want all the kids to like us. We move into junior high and high school, and we want to be popular. Or we want to be the opposite of popular, and we want everybody to know that about us. And we worry about what people think. Or we have a job, and we want people to like us there. And we think things like, man, if I could just re-say what I just said in a different way, or if I could have a different conversation. And we worry how people view us. Or maybe we worry about our comfort, right? And we get out of high school and we're going into college and we want just the right college. We have to get into just the right place, or have to find just the right trade, and have to find just the right job. And then we move on to something else like finding a house. And we're like, I have to find this house that's going to fulfill me. It has to have this many bedrooms and this many bathrooms, and this is going to complete me once I get this house, and we stress out about it. Or maybe we stress out about finding the perfect car, right? And I have to have a car that everyone's going to know is mine, one that represents me, and I gotta worry about that as well. Maybe we start worrying about marriage too. And we worry about finding the person that's going to fulfill us. We worry about finding the person that's going to complete us. Or maybe we end up getting married and we worry about staying married. And I got to do this and I got to do that, and we just worry about it and we pack it into our bag of anxiety. And then we have kids and we worry about our kids. Are they going to grow up and be good people? Are they going to grow up and have a successful future? And we worry about that and we pack that into our bag. I was on Facebook the other day, and I seen a kid who was not even 2 yet, who was potty training while reading a book that he was memorizing. And I thought about my son Bronson, who's not even smart enough right now to pull down his own pants. And it got me worrying, right? And then we start to play the what if game. What if Bronson doesn't learn how to pull down his pants until he gets into kindergarten, and all the kids start making fun of him? What if that happens? And what if, because everyone's making fun of him, he doesn't know what to do and he doesn't try hard in school and he gets worried? And then what if he turns into the class bully and no one likes him, and then he ends up dropping out of school and he lives at my house for the rest of my life? What if? We pack all this stuff into our bag of stress, into our bag of worry. Now on top of that, we have a pandemic going on. We've got a pandemic going on, and we have to worry about things like, is everything clean? Like, can I touch things? We have to worry about, is my health going to be okay? Like, am I going to be safe? We have to worry about things like financially, like, am I going to be able to make it? Am I going to be able to survive if there's an economic downfall? And we even have to worry about, is there enough toilet paper for us to survive, right? And so we worry about all that. On top of all the everyday worries we have, we take the worries of the pandemic and we stack it on top of that. And then we have to carry this bag of stress, carry this bag of worry around. Some of us are not strong enough to carry it, and even if we are, it can slow us down, or it can even freeze us right where we're at. So here's what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about is, how do we continue to live? How do we continue to walk in a time of stress, in a time of worry? When life is weighing us down, how do we walk? What I'm going to suggest is we need to walk in love. Now that's a big saying and a big word, and what love means to each of us is different. So I'm going to let the Bible define that. But what I want to say is, what we need to do is we need to walk in love. So what I want you to do now, after I get done talking, is pause the DVD or pause the video and answer this question with the people you're around. What before this pandemic happened were you putting in your bag of stress? What before this pandemic happened was causing you anxiety? And then also answer, what right now is causing you anxiety about what's going on in our current climate? So pause the video, take time to talk about it. If you got your Bibles, we're going to be in Ephesians chapter 5. So if you want to open up there with me, Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1. I hope you had a good time discussing those questions. For me, Currently, what's giving me anxiety about the pandemic is just worrying about my parents, just worrying that everything's going to be okay. With my dad being a truck driver and going around the world just makes me nervous. So I hope you had good conversations. We're going to be in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1. It starts out by saying this: therefore, be imitators of God as beloved children. So the Bible is telling us we need to imitate God. We need to follow after God. But we do it from a position of being a child of God, being one of God's children. And so we imitate not out of fear, not out of frustration, not because we feel like we have to, but because we're a child and we're loved. Let me give you an example. I have a son named Bronson, and he is about 2.5, 2 3/4. Every Saturday, me and him go and we pick up tacos from a taco stand in Rantoul. They have a taco stand that sells dollar tacos. And so me and Bronson get in the car, and my wife is in the window, and she's waving at us. And I'm waving. I'm like, bye, Chastity. And I say, turn back to Bronson. I say, hey, Bronson, wave to your mom. Say bye. And Bronson says, that's not Mom. That's Chastity. And then he starts busting up laughing, thinking that he's funny. Really what he's doing is he's imitating me, right? Like, he wants to say what I say, and he does this all the time, and his younger brother Sterling does the same thing. They imitate me, not because I'm forcing them to, not because they have to, but because they love me and they want to. And so we imitate God not for the love of God, not to get the love of God, but because we have the love of God inside of us, because we're children of God, and we want to represent our Father. So verse 1 says, therefore be imitators of God as beloved children. And then verse 2, and walk in love, and walk in love. Now, what does it mean to walk in love? Love is such a fluent word. It means different things to different people. Walk in love could mean to be nice to someone. Walk in love could be like this idea of some sort of romantic relationship. Luckily for us, the Bible defines what it means to walk in love in the rest of verse 2. What I want you to do now is pause this after I get done talking. And I want you to try to find two things in verse 2. Two ways it means to walk in love. There's two clear things pointed out in verse 2. And so read this verse and talk with each other. What do you think it means to walk in love? So we read we're supposed to be imitators of God, and we read that we imitate God by walking in love. What does it mean to walk in love? Well, the first way we walk in love can be found in verse 2. It says, and walk in love as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us. What we see here is Christ sacrificed his life. He laid down his life for us. And so the first way we walk in love is we selflessly serve others. In the same way that Jesus gave up his life for us, we give up our lives for others. See, Jesus chose to serve us. He has all power and authority and control. He can do what he wants, when he wants, yet he laid that down on our behalf. And so we lay down our life on behalf of other people. Now, this isn't the best illustration for this, but I think it fits. Let's say that someone owns a Dairy Queen, right? And it makes lots of money. It's very lucrative. And he makes a lot off of it. Yet what he does with the money is he gives it all away, all of it. He doesn't even go to the Dairy Queen to get free food like he could. Matter of fact, most people don't even know that he owns the business because he's so sacrificial. He has right to all that. He has a right to, but he lays it down for other people. Jesus did the same thing for you and me. He laid down his life on our behalf. John chapter 13 says this. Jesus gets done washing the feet of his disciples, and it says this: you call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash one another's feet. For I given you an example that you also should do, just as I have done to you. And so Jesus shows us here as an example. He says, I'm going to wash your feet so you'll go out and do that to others. Jesus lays down his life for us so we can go and lay down our life for other people. And so the first way we walk in love is by selflessly serving others. The second way we walk in love is found in the second part of verse 2. It says he laid down his life as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. The second way we walk in love is we selflessly serve God. In the same way that Jesus was an offering and a sacrifice, like in the Old Testament where they would offer an animal on behalf of sin, he laid down his life for God. We lay down our life for God. Wherever Jesus went, it was because God led him there. Wherever God was, Jesus was, and he followed. So he laid down his life to follow God, and so we do the same. So what does it mean to walk in love? I think it can be summarized in this way right here. We love God and we love people. To walk in love means that we love God and we love people. Now, verses 3 through 14, which are important, and I'd suggest you read on your own, give us examples on how to love God and love people, how to walk in love. It talks about having speech that honors God and being thankful and having sexual purity and not associating with temple gods, which is a big problem for us today. But it gives us example. But I want to jump into verse 15. Verse 15 of Ephesians chapter 5 says this: "Look carefully then how you walk, not as the unwise, but as the wise." So it says, be careful how you walk. You should walk in love, not as the unwise do, but as the wise do. And so the question I want to ask you is, are you walking in love? When you wake up, are you thinking about how you can selflessly serve God, how you can selflessly serve people, how you can love God and love people? Or in a time of crisis right now, are you more worried about your college kids' fund or your retirement or if you're going to have enough toilet paper? If we say we have hope in Jesus, if we really believe that, our hope should not be based on the things that's going on around us. Our hope is based on what Jesus has done for us. And so we need to ask ourselves, are we walking in love? Are we loving God and loving people in a time of chaos? And then verse 16 says this, my favorite verse in the whole section. It says, making the best use of the time because the days are evil. It says, in light of this, in light of walking in love, we need to make the best of our time. This word in Greek actually means to redeem. Redeem means to buy back or to purchase. And so we need to purchase our time back. In an evil day, which I believe we're in an evil day right now where the coronavirus is spreading and people are getting sick and dying and everything is shutting down. In this time, we need to purchase back our time or buy back our time during this evil day. This is what Jesus has done for you. He bought back your life through his life, death, and resurrection. So the Bible is saying we buy back our time, this evil time. I heard a pastor say this week, and I think it's so true. Do you understand that right now, in a time of isolation, where we're not really supposed to be around other people, we can be alone with God one-on-one? In a time where we're scared and we're isolated, we have a chance to go to our room with the Bible and with prayer and be with God. We are actually never alone. When other people feel isolated, we actually have God with us. And so that's how we redeem back time. Will you look back at this time that we have been given right now through this virus? I'm not saying that God caused it, but he certainly allowed it, right? This time that we have been given, will you look back at it and see, man, I've redeemed this time. I've impacted this person's life. I've grown in my relationship with Jesus. Or will you look back at this time and be like, man, well, you know what I did? I learned a new hobby. God wants us to redeem this time and buy back this time. He wants us to walk in love by loving God and loving people, selflessly serving God and serving people. Verse 17 to the end here says this: therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. And do not get drunk with wine, for that is debauchery, but be filled with the Spirit, addressing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody to the Lord with your heart. Give thanks always and for everything to God the Father in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, submitting to one another out of reverence for Christ. And so it gives us more examples of walking in love. We seek God. We don't give in to our evil desires. We're thankful. We serve each other, and we submit to each other. And so here's what I want to say. Here's what I want to get to here. Most of the messages that I've heard up to this point in response to the coronavirus is that we have hope in Jesus. Yes and amen. 100% true. It's the first message I preached in response to this. And I believe that's true. I believe it's something that we need to hear. We have hope in the gospel. However, when we believe the gospel should lead to mission. Right now, people are more receptive and more open to having conversations about Jesus than ever before. People are more receptive than almost ever to having a spiritual talk. And we have hope. And that should lead us to mission, to love them and serve them and talk to them. We should open up our lives and see this as an opportunity to love God and love people, to walk in love. Today we learned that in the midst of stress, we should walk in love. To walk in love means to selflessly serve God and selflessly serve people, or to love God and love people. Due to the coronavirus, many people are walking around with stress and with a lack of hope. However, we have the gospel, which brings hope to everyone. We're going to put a couple questions on the screen, which is going to help you process what it means to walk in love. Take time, pause the video, and discuss these questions with the people around you.